My name is Raju Patel, and I'm joined today by Dominic Emery, who is Vice President for Long-Term Planning and Policy at BP. So welcome, Dominic.
Thank you very much.
So Dominic, we had a couple of questions for you. The first question is, the oil and gas industry is not new to the boom and bust cycle. So now here we are today with oil at $50 a barrel. And we're seeing all these different responses, which are very predictable, which we have seen before in the oil and gas sector. And so the question is, does the oil and gas industry not learn from prior downturns about how to run a more efficient ship?
Well, it's a very good question. And we've seen oil price falls, certainly since I've been in the business from 1986 onwards. We've seen several of them. And it does feel like a roller coaster. And I think it's important to say that actually the oil price ups and downs are really more a part of a fact of life for the industry rather than the stable oil price of around $100 that we saw for the kind of the last 4 years. But you're right in terms of industry response. There must be a better way of responding to oil price movements both on the upside and also on the downside. Not getting too exuberant when the prices are high, and starting to invest in projects that are potentially too expensive. We certainly know that over the last few years, capital investments in some of these huge mega projects have really run out of control. And a lot of the industry was starting to put in place simplification activities, standardization activities to try and keep costs under control. And really the current oil price situation has just driven those more rapidly.
Right. So going forward, do you think the industry is going to embed some of these lessons? Are we going to see a cultural change? Are we going to see, once the oil price recovers, which is what we are told another 2 or 3 years away, that things are going to be more disciplined going forward?
So we've said that before. I genuinely think this time we really want to get our act together to ensure that is the case. There are a number of cross-industry initiatives that are actually trying quite hard to ensure standardization of parts and equipment across the industry,
right.
A standardization of the way we procure activity, but at the same time wanted to invest through the cycle so that we don't end up compromising the long term on the altar of the short term.
Okay, so there is a more coherent and consistent industry response throughout the supply chain this time around, and more standardization, as you're saying, and a more concerted effort within the industry.
I think there absolutely has to be. And I think ourselves and our kind of suppliers need to work together so that in the good times, it doesn't get too exuberant and out of control, and the bad times, it doesn't get too it doesn't feel like too much of a bust. So I think there's some big opportunities around the likes of collaboration across the supply chain and also through standardization.
Okay, great. And the other question I wanted to ask you is about climate change. Mm-hmm. So, what's BP's view on sustainability and climate change? Because it's one of the elements of the Energy Trilemma.
Indeed, and that trilemma being energy security, as well as sustainability, and also affordability. And these three things need to be balanced off, really to ensure the continued development of kind of prosperity across the globe. So our view on it is, firstly, it's a multi-stakeholder problem. It's something that governments, industry, consumers and others have to address collectively. In terms of what BP is doing about it, well, we're advocating a switch from coal to gas, which will make quite a difference to CO2 emissions. We're also advocating a carbon price, which we think can drive the most efficient, lower carbon project activities first. Also, ongoing efficiency in operations and also of our products. And finally, looking for technological breakthroughs that can really make a difference, both to our core businesses and potentially to kind of renewable businesses in the future.
Okay, so could you give an example of some of the technological innovation or breakthroughs, ideas?
Yeah, of course. So I think, let's give an example from the kind of the downstream. The use of kind of biofuels and biolubricants has been is being well developed, but I think there's more kind of room to run. The use of bioproducts in hydrocarbons. Secondly, energy efficiency. We make some small venturing investments. So we have an internal venture capital unit that invests in quite a lot of low carbon activity, including energy efficiency at our refinery sites or on our offshore facilities. And also carbon capture and storage, which is a big thing, which could potentially kind of mitigate CO2 associated with the burning of hydrocarbons. Again, we've tried our hand at a couple of CCS projects. They are challenging, they're very capital intensive, they do need subsidy, but they are one way, amongst others, of kind of mitigating carbon emissions.
All right, great. So thank you very much, Dominic.
My pleasure.
Very fascinating.